Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to look at how to use Docker with VS Code. It is awesome, but first you need to make sure, of course, that your Docker engine is actually running. I'm using WSL, so let me just show you some troubleshooting things that you can, some things you can do to actually check if everything is okay. First of all, you go to Windows and you just write Docker desktop. If you don't have that installed, then of course the first step is to install Docker Desktop, and you just do that by going to just search for Docker Desktop, and then you will install it on your Windows machine, and that is step one. So step one is to open this Docker Desktop right here. Then you go to the home screen, or you can actually also do it on the containers screen right there. Then you click the little gear button up here. The little gear button, then you need to make sure that use the WSL2 based engine is enabled like this. And you also need to make sure that you're on the resources and on the WSL integration that you have enabled your Ubuntu. If you're using Ubuntu, of course, that's the most. That's actually a little bit kind of a de facto standard when people use WSL nowadays. They don't take one of the other distros; they just take the default distro, and that is Ubuntu. So you need to check that this enable integration with my default WSL distro, and also enable Ubuntu right here. And if you can see that the Docker, the engine is running in the bottom left corner, then you are actually happy, and then you can try your first thing to actually see that everything is running as it should. Of course, with Docker Desktop, you can see a lot of things. You can check out containers. You can also check out images that you have installed in your machine. But I would not today. We're going to use WS Code instead, and I have WS Code right here. But first of all, let us see that everything is actually okay as it should be. So you start your terminal. If you don't have a good Windows terminal yet, and if you don't have Windows Terminal, it is called Windows Terminal. It is not the default. It's not the default command prompt. It's not PowerShell. It's not Git Bash. It is called Windows Terminal. Then download and install it from the Windows software from the software list right now. Because as you can see right here, it actually supports all of the shells right here. So it means that I can actually start a new tab with, for instance, in WSL. So if I click this one right here, then I have a new and fresh WSL Linux Ubuntu terminal bash. No, this is not bash. This is OMIC shell, but that's another story. But let's not go out of that branch in this video. There are other videos about that. If you don't have OMIC shell in your WSL, then see my other videos about OMIC shell because it is awesome. The first thing you want to write is Docker PS. And if you get a list like this, then there's nothing running, then you're actually happy. If you get something like this, cannot connect to the Docker daemon, blah, 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 is the Docker daemon running, then there are some things you need to check. First of all, you need to check if the service actually started. So if you can run this, and then afterwards, then you can actually, then you can run Docker PS, and then you get this result as you see right here. Then you are happy, and then you actually know what the problem is. The problem is that your Ubuntu is not starting up the service. It has not been enabled yet. So you need to enable the Docker service like this. And you also need to enable the containerd service like this. And after you do that, then you can try to shut down your WSL by writing, and it actually stands right there, WSL -- shut down. And then you can, when it has been shut down, then you just open a new Ubuntu instance and your WSL will start up once again. Of course, you can also just write WSL without anything after you have written shutdown. If you write WSL, then you enter the WSL mode, and then it will start up the WSL engine again. Remember that the WSL is actually just a Docker container running on your Docker engine in Windows, and then there's support for that through Windows and through all of our IDEs. But so far, so good, because now we know that with the Docker engine is running. Let us go to VS Code because it has support for Docker and also with WSL, and it is awesome. But first, you actually need the plugin. So you go to extensions, the little what it does. It looks like some boxes on top of each other right here. This is the plugin. That's the plugin tab, and then you search for Docker. So that's the first thing you do, because you really need this Docker, and you need the one for Microsoft, Be sure that you don't install this. This is not good. You need to have the official one from Microsoft, which is this one right here. It has almost 5 stars. It has 4.5 stars right here, and it has been downloaded 15 million times, and it's version 1.22 right now. And there's also some nice. You can also see if an extension is good or not, whether if it's good documentation or not. But this supports both when you create your Docker files, and it also supports your Docker Compose files. And this is exactly what we need. So install that, and then you might have to restart. That's okay. Then what do? You go to Explorer, because now you can actually create a project, and then you can create a Dockerfile like I've done right here. Inside this Dockerfile, I can press Control Space, and now I get a lot of syntax help right here, right? I get code completion. So I can say that I want to build something from maybe an Nginx, and etc. I can add. You can see I get all the code completion that I would actually need. If I want to add some arguments, then I can say that I want some arguments. Some argument to my builds, some value, and then I can actually use this. Then I can use this value, this argument inside my Docker file. But I'll make other videos about the arguments parts of the Docker file, because that's a whole other section. So code completion for Docker file. Thank you very much, VS Code and the plugin, also for Microsoft. Docker Compose.yml. There's also support for that code completion, so you can actually get you can get all the help that you need, that you would expect. You can get the services right here, and if I right-click somewhere right here, then I can say compose up, compose down, compose restart, or I can select the services that I want to run. I'll select so the services right now. Let me just start both of them up right now. So then I press OK. And now it will be the same as writing Docker Compose up and then mentioning both of those services. But when you take those off, so that's quite awesome. Okay, so now they're actually up and running. Can I see that somehow? You might ask, and the answer is yes, you can. You actually get this little whale right here, the Docker icon. You press the Docker icon right there. If you cannot find it, then you go to View, Open View, and then you search for Docker. Oh, sorry, let me just do that once again. Open View, and then you search for Docker, like this. And then you press that, and then you also enter the Docker view right here. Sometimes you have to do that the first time you open up a view. That is also, if you have the NPM view, for instance, then you need to open up the NPM view and get access to it by opening it through the view menu the first time. Okay, so here we can see images, containers, registries, networks, volumes, context, help and feedback. Let us look at the containers. That is quite interesting, because we have 2 containers running already, because we set compose up, and we can go and see which files there actually are inside this system right here. And that is quite awesome, I think. We can see all these files right here in the variable. Let us look at some logs. Here we have the log file. It's not all of them that actually has files in them. TMP, Docker env right there. So let us see what can we do there. We can actually open it. There was nothing inside that file, so that was not interesting. Then let us go down to the Nginx instead. There should be a HTML file. I know that. So then we have where is it? User etc opt. Oh, where are the files? Okay, but they're in there somewhere. Okay, let's open this file right here. So here and then we can actually open up the files inside the Docker image. This is awesome, I think. This saves a lot of time with copying out the file from inside the container to the outside, and then back inside again after you make some minor changes. This is awesome. File handling is awesome. What is more awesome, it's also awesome that we can actually stop, of course, our containers once again. We can say stop, right click and stop like that. So now we still have the container. It's just running and being a bit messy right there. We can also stop the other container that we have right here. That was a Jenkins. That was just a Jenkins container I started up because I wanted to make a Jenkins tutorial. It will come a bit later. And now we still have them. They are not started up. It's the same if I go to my terminal, WSL right here, and I write Docker PS -A for all, then I also get the stop ones. Here we can see that the status has been exited. So we don't want those. Of course, I could remove them by writing docker rm and then something like this, docker rm, ps -aq for listing all of them. And with the Q means that then I will only get the container ID, and then that will be passed to the docker rm command like that. But right now, we don't feel like typing. We just feel like using the VS Code UI because we have that. So I'll just right click. Can I mark both of them? Yes, I can. Remove. Yes, I am sure I want to remove the containers. Thank you very much. Let us just write -a now. So now they're gone. We have cleaned up our Docker container or Docker environments. You can also get out of this by actually when you run when you start up a new Docker container, you can actually add the parameter or argument -rm. Then it will actually be removed automatically when the Docker container stops. It's just a good trick. So you will write something like this: Docker run Engin X, maybe -it for interactive terminal, -rm because it should be removed automatically, and you want to run a bash terminal inside the -it not found, -it like this, -rm like this, Engin X like this, latest, that is the name of the image. Yes, like that. There was two dashes and then rm, hyphen, rm. And now I'm inside the Docker. Now actually I've created a Docker container. Let's just write that right here. Docker PS, I can see this is my Docker container. And if I exit the container, that means that then it actually stops. Then it should also disappear. -a. It's still there. No, it's not the same. It's because I started another one. Okay, you can actually see the name up here, so it's not the same one. Let us just clean up this one, or let us just clean this one up. Again, let us just use, now we have IntelliJ, so we'll use IntelliJ. So again, so now we have no running containers. So what will we do? We'll run this, like this. And I'll write Docker PS. I can see that I have something running. -a for all, so I have only this name right here. The dude name, and then I will actually exit right here, and then because we added those -rm, then we should actually delete the container should actually be deleted. Yes, here we are. That was good. It worked the second time. I'm happy. I'm very proud. Okay, so another thing we can do, we can actually look at the images, and here you can see I have Terraria, and it's a bit of a mess if you have too many images because it takes up all of your space, of course. So let us just right click on this one right here. This is the tag. So here we have the image name, then we have the tag down here. So we can actually, of course, we can have multiple tags. It also has the ID. This is the tag ID right here, and we can it actually also shows the exposed ports. That is actually those exposed ports, they will not be exposed by default. I don't know if you knew that, but that is because inside your Dockerfile you can actually mention ports that should be exposed, and this is just metadata. It is information for the person that uses this image to create a container. Then please expose these ports. So you still have to expose them manually. It's just extra metadata and information. It's kind of like documentation. But you can see right there, it takes up 738 megabyte. That's a lot just to lie around right there. I'm not using it anymore, so I'll just remove it. Yes, delete it. Thank you very much. And now we can actually do the same with Nginx right there. Remove it. Yes, delete it. Oh, let us just check this Alpine. As soon as when you have the option to get some piece of software in an Alpine version, then get it, because you can see here it's only 248 megabyte. If I took the Jenkins image in a non-Alpine version, then it would be like double up at least on the size. So always use Alpine, and if you create your own images, try to use Alpine to wrap your application inside that. Okay, so that is what I want to show you. I want to show this cool integration with this plugin with VS Code and Docker. And we have a Docker file right there. We have the compose file right there. we're happy and I can continue with my Jenkins tutorial. I'll do that in just a minute, or maybe not. Let's see when I get time. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening. Hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.